go over mystical real fast. Mystical's a keyword that I really enjoy. There's a lot that goes into it. Mystical can do a lot. The main key with mystical is hindering your opponent and just doing off the board stuff that other teams just can't do. Unless they have these pieces on them somehow, but I mean, it all fits under mystical. So I have it separated out here to the different point values and which pieces fit into those point values that you would want to play in a meta team. Some of them are hit or miss, like Lady Roma. Requires a lot of playtesting, but she can work. I'm sure she can, right? She's my favorite chase out of X's Swords, so I'm trying to find a way to make her work. She's just so dang expensive at 65 points. But we'll go over her. First of all, at 20 points, you have Jimmy Woo and Spirit of the Game. Spirit of the Game is the best 20 points. Usually if you have 20 points to spare, you're going to put Spirit of the Game on there. The problem with it is that it doesn't add to your initiative roll. That 18 defend actually does come in handy. You wouldn't think it does, but what you're really playing it for is the special on damage, which is +1 to your action total if you're on a theme team. So, very good piece. If you have 20 points to spare and you don't know what to do with it, Spirit of the Game is the way to go. 25 points, threw a bunch on here. This is really just filler. Usually you're going to go with magic for an extra taxi and extra perplex. And she's a sword bearer. Remember, if you put the sword on her, she becomes 30 points, but I digress. You got Wonder Woman Jumpa, the starter set Enchantress that has TK, and the starter set Loki that has probability control. Wonder Woman Jumpa she has a retail, but it's Force Blast. It basically just pushes your opponent into your kill zone. But the main problem with Mystical, is that it doesn't have a lot of damage, and we're going to go over that. 30 points, this is your bread and butter. Felix Faust is a must-have on a Mystical team. If you don't know what he does yet, you've been living under a rock for the past couple years. Basically, if your opponent tries to use Perplex PC or Outwit within his range, doesn't have to have line of fire, there's a 50-50 chance that it doesn't happen. That does include theme team PCs, and those theme team PCs that he used, that was rolled for with Felix, they count towards his theme team total. So if he has 3, he uses 1, you roll with Felix, and he doesn't get it, or he's not able to use it, he still tried. So his 3 PCs would go down to 2. Auto add for any mystical team. Then 30 point Scarlet Witch for your taxi. 10 speed, carries 3 people, TK, PC, your typical taxi stuff, except for sidestep. But she does have the Avengers team ability, so she's carrying everybody out 11. Magic does not have the Avengers keyword and only has an 8 speed, so she's only carrying people out 8. But she has Perplex, and she's 5 points less, so Yin Yang, whatever you want to do with it. Forge goes under the radar, 30 points, +1 to your attack or damage. And as I said before, Mystical has a big problem with damage, so he's a good add. And then Kid Loki is a cheap leadership with a pseudo emotional modifier. Opposing characters within 4 squares in line of fire. He chooses a combat value, and that combat value is modified -1. Very good for 30 points. Top dial shape change, and then goes into shape change super senses on click 2 and 3. Click 4 is just willpower, just like top click, and then he's dead. So he dies quick, but cheap leadership. 35 points, these are your meta pieces. They don't have slop on the assets page, so I'm borrowing the Chase Saturnine picture, but the slop Saturnine is amazing. I'm actually going to go over her real fast, because if you don't know what she does, you need to know. You're basically playing her for this, excuse me, this last trait. I know there's a lot of text up here, and there's some cool stuff up here, but you're playing her for this last one. Once per turn, you may increase or decrease an attack total by 1. This is map-wide. So you are automatically giving your entire team a +1 to attack and +1 to defense whenever you need it. Right, so you don't have to choose one character and say, oh, I'm going to perplex up his attack, and then hope your opponent goes after, or perplex up his defense, and then hope your opponent goes after that character. It's just a map wide plus double perplex, really. Very solid piece. She can also add tarot cards to your sideline that don't count towards your sideline total. And you can swap those into the game whenever you like, which is awesome. And then she has a cool TK where if a friendly character is TK'd adjacent to an opposing character, after resolutions, remove an action token from the place character. So let's say Scarlet Witch is pushed out because she just dropped her rune, but I'll TK her with Saturnine adjacent to Kid Loki, who's on the opposing team. She removes an action token, and she can swing at Kid Loki. Mad Jim Jaspers, if you don't know what he does because you've been living under a rock during X of Swords, look him up. I'm not going to go into everything. Just know he can bring in any object from your sideline and equip it to a character. He can swap equipment on characters with objects on your sideline. So if you have Scarlet Witch with the Darkhold, like we saw in the championship round, he can swap her to the Angler and she can angle out 6 squares. That's how Saul was able to get to the starting area of his opponent in the championship round of the World Championship. Very good piece. These are metas. If you're playing a Prime, especially on Mystical, I implore you to play Mad Jim Jaspers. Destroyer Prime is also very good, but Mad Jim on Mystical is insanely good because another piece that we're getting in SOP is the Grand Prize Apocalypse. Now, for the longest time, Mystical also had another challenge, which was cheap leadership. Then we got Kid Loki. He came along. He's not bad, but I mean, you don't necessarily want to pay 30 points for this. Well, Grand Prize Apocalypse answers both the question of damage and the question of leadership. 35. He comes in at 35 points, but I have him under 40 because you're going to equip him with the sword. And the only sword you're going to equip him with is the Soul Sword, because Apocalypse is only 3 clicks long, right? But the stop click is insanely good. And the Soul Sword allows him to heal off of this stop click to here, and then they have to hit him to the stop click again, and then they have to hit him again. So by the end of it, if they aren't equipped, they're being dealt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks of penetrating damage just to kill this guy. If they are equipped, you're scoring points just from them attacking him. Very solid piece. Richter was your barrier for Mystical before Mad Jim came along. And he can also get through barrier. He can attack through barrier. Very underrated piece. Very good follow-up attacker. 45 points, you got Wanda Maximoff, 19 defend. Agatha, she pops out the Senor Scratchy Bystander. Gives all your characters on Mystical +1 to attack and has enhancement. And is very good mastermind fodder for if you need to go Blackheart because you don't have Scarlet Witch or another character with mastermind on your team. 45 point Venom Doctor Strange. He's kind of getting outclassed lately, but he's still very good. He has TK, and he also has leadership and PC. And then he can pop out another Venom Doctor Strange if he hits, and you have to roll call-in from the Venomverse, which is 3 through 6, so a 50-50 shot of calling out another one. Or actually a 2/3 chance, so that'd be 67% chance of calling in. Anyways, very good piece. Pixie was your taxi before Scarlet Witch. She has a 10 movement and can place characters out 3 squares ahead of her. So she moves out 10 and then places somebody 3 squares away. Basically a 13 square carry. Very solid piece. She just doesn't do a whole lot else other than taxi. 50 points, you have the recruiter Doctor Strange, who also has the cool free action to make a friendly character do an additional ping of damage. Very good for a keyword that's lacking on damage, and very good for getting past Stockwicks. Another piece to talk about at 50 points. They don't have a picture for her yet, but the Death Metal Wonder Woman. Let's see if I have her pulled up. I do. You're playing her for this trait. Once per game, when a friendly standard character would be KO'd, including Wonder Woman, you may instead turn that figure to their last non-KO click, then roll a d6 and heal them equal to half of the result. Protected Pulse Wave. This piece goes very well with the Apocalypse, your Scarlet Witch, anything with a stock click on the last click. Let's say Apocalypse runs up there and they are somehow able to kill him. Okay, well, instead of KOing him, I'm going to heal him up to top click, and you're going to have to go through that whole process all over again. Super annoying, super good, and if you haven't seen a picture of her yet, she looks freaking cool. She's a must play for me. Then at 55, you have the Wolverine that doesn't die from X of Swords. Crazy that he has a mystical keyword, but thematically it makes sense. I really like him. And then 60, there's nothing really at 60, so 65. Again, Lady Roma, she's 15 points overcosted, but she works really cool with Felix Faust, and I really want to make that work, but I don't know if it's possible. And then you have Doppelganger Prime. Remember, this is your Prime slot, so if you use him, you can't use Mad Jim, but I threw him on here because he dishes out damage. And if you need an extra attacker, there you go. 70 points, you have another hard to kill Apocalypse, the House of X Chase, who has Krakoan Revival. Okay, so this Apocalypse has the X-Men keyword. Just another way to bring him back. And this might be the only way that Krakoan Revival will ever work. But Apocalypse to Apocalypse Krakoan Revival, I mean, it works now. And then you have your main attackers, Scarlet Witch, if you were lucky enough to pull her like I was. Kind of weird flex there, I know, but she is a must-add to any team that you want to play if you have her. She is extremely good, and honestly, I want to say she's undercosted, but really she costs just about right. Running Shot, Pen Psych, and then she can choose PC, Perplex, or Outwit with the Darkhold, and then Shape Change, Top Dial. So Shape Change senses Mystical Team ability, sees through stealth with the Avengers Initiative team ability, and can shut off all powers. It's obviously a power action to do so, but I mean, worth it in a lot of cases. The big problem you run in with her is you need a follow-up attacker to hit something after she places a rune. Then at 75 points, Blackheart. If you don't have Scarlet Witch, Blackheart's your main attacker. Name a better attacker at 75 points than Blackheart. There really isn't one at 75, so you add him. And then another thing to mention is the Dooms do have the mystical keyword, so you can put them on there. And I threw Agatha on here. I don't like her. She's very map dependent because she has to pop from hindering square to hindering square. And I mean, if you get put on negative zone, obviously that's not the route you take. You can just move her up here into the stealth. But she does a lot. I mean, she has mind control, can see through characters, does the same thing that Scarlet Witch does with her rune marker, and then she also dishes out a lot of damage. Infamous Iron Man, if you want to go that route, he's still solid. But yeah, that's Mystical. I would say the must-adds are Felix, Death Metal Wonder Woman if you were able to get her, Apocalypse if you're able to get him, and that's really it. Kind of depends on what you want to go for, but those are the must-haves on the team, and that equals out to 70 plus 50, so 120 points there. Alright guys, that's my Mystical shindig. I hope you guys have a good night. Bye.